you very much, Ben.
Very nice.
16 minutes past 9 the time.
Beautiful weekend in Liverpool this weekend, which is hosting a range of events to mark the 80th anniversary of the Battle of the Atlantic, one of the most important, longest battles of the Second World War.
Tens of thousands of Royal Navy and merchant sailors set sail from the city, risking their lives to bring vital supplies to wartime Britain. We can go to our reporter, Sarah Rogers, who's on board HMS Defender for us this morning. Hope I'm going to get my terminology right, Sarah. Are you on the bridge? Show us round.
I am on the bridge wing. That is right, yes, and it all feels just a little bit Titanic, doesn't it? But I'm going to resist the urge to do that cliche, but just about. Now, this is the centrepiece of the commemorations of the Battle of the Atlantic, which was the longest campaign of the Second World War, lasting over 2,000 days, but really vital into being able to get those supplies into a place like Liverpool. Now, as part of the commemorations, there's loads going on here this weekend. We've got fly pasts, there's a military village, there's tours, there's simulators. But before that, my colleague Andy Gill has been speaking to some of the veterans who were around for the Battle of the Atlantic after a royal visit yesterday.
The Princess Royal arrives at St Nick's Parish Church in Liverpool. She and her Navy officer husband, Sir Tim Lawrence, joined dignitaries and current naval officers for a service to remember those who lost their lives in the Battle of the Atlantic. Afterwards, Princess Anne spoke about the importance of the battle, Royal Navy and Merchant Navy ships keeping Britain and her allies fed and supplied with arms throughout World War II.
This memorial is really important to keep the Battle of the Atlantic as a story properly told, because it's a battle that lasted longer than any other. And we need to remember the lives lost.
She then unveiled a new memorial garden. John Davies from Liverpool is 100 years old. He was a merchant seaman in the Battle of the Atlantic.
I never got my feet wet myself. I did see ships go down. I'm very sorry for those people.
What was it like watching that happen?
Horrendous. It's hard to tell. It's hard to speak about it. I have shed a few tears today, I'll tell you.
George Osborne is 101. He was a Royal Navy gunner.
It means everything, because pay respect to them men who went away and didn't come back. And most of us were young boys. I mean, I was only 17 when the war started.
And Kenneth Benbow, who's 98, was a torpedo man. What does this service and this anniversary, what does that mean to you?
A heck of a lot, because I know it's my last. I had a wonderful ship, wonderful, and a wonderful captain, and I had a wonderful life. I don't doubt a part of it at all. It was wonderful. It made me from a boy into a man.
The Royal Navy ship HMS Defender is in Liverpool for the commemorations, and there was a flypast by a Navy Swordfish plane and the Battle of Britain memorial flight. Today, though, belonged to the men and women who served on the sea. Andy Gill, BBC News, Liverpool.
It's really poignant, isn't it, hearing from people like that 98-year-old Kenneth there. And just to get a scale of the ship, it's 152 metres long. You can't really tell when you're inside the bridge here as we've moved in. So we can show you some shots from the outside so you can just see how massive it is and just the scale. Now, I'm going to speak to the captain.
Good morning.
Looking very comfortable in your captain's chair, Lieutenant Pete Evans. So there's 200 people on this ship. What is life like for 200 people?
Yeah, that's right. It's a lot of people. It's like sailing around the world with your own village in tow. One of the great strengths of the Royal Navy is the incredible diversity of the sailors we have. And on board, I've got sailors who can do everything from weigh an anchor to fly a combat helicopter. The training we get makes us into a ship's company, but what's special about Defender is the operations she's conducted and the challenges she's faced at sea really make us into a family.
A family out at sea, but I recognise that accent there.
Right.
Where are you from? Is this a bit of a homecoming?
Yeah, it certainly is. So I'm from Wallasey, just about 1 mile off the port bow there. So clearly it's special for me to be in Liverpool. And actually, we've got about 20 sailors on board who are from the northwest area. So a really exciting opportunity for them. Last night I had a really great privilege to meet the parents of one of my chefs on board, Amy Hamilton. And it's really important for us to build those family links because, of course, we demand so much of our sailors on the front line at sea.
And we're here for this commemoration of the Battle of the Atlantic. When you're here for that, do you take time to reflect on that?
Absolutely. It's really stark for us. And HMS Defender is a modern-day combat escort, and escorting the Battle of the Atlantic would absolutely have been one of our tasks. Your viewers will be aware that 95% of the UK's trade goes by sea, and 98% of all the world's data goes via undersea cables, and it's ships like Defender and the fantastic sailors we have on board that keep that safe.
So we're just going to quickly see how that actually happens. We've got Lieutenant Harry Long here, who's a navigator. How are you in charge of a ship like this? Because looking at that wheel there, it looks a little bit like a game that you might see in an arcade.
I think people sometimes imagine that we still use the big old-fashioned large wooden wheels that you see on old sailing ships. However, these days it's not bigger than a car steering wheel. So A.B. Ferguson here is our quartermaster, so me or one of my team will give him an order and he will then alter the rudder to move this 8,000-ton ship in the direction that we want it to go.
So go on quickly, just a couple of orders. I know we can't move.
Port 15, altering 170. Set both levers ahead, 100.
No idea what that means, but it sounds very, very official. And earlier I heard you saying that this was the best job in the world. Why is that?
So a lot of it is to do with the responsibility of taking such a large ship in and out of harbour. I have the responsibility of getting a 150-metre long ship into gaps that can be merely 10-15 metres wider than the actual ship itself. So actually a lot of it is dependent upon the maths that's going on in my head trying to get it in and ultimately getting it in for the captain.
And I can barely parallel park, so I will leave it there. The ship is open to people to come and have a look at today, but you probably won't get in this bit.
It's really interesting looking around. Thank everyone there for us. It was a wonderful occasion. Thank you so much. And they're beautiful weather. Let's turn our attention now to Liverpool this weekend. It's hosting a range of events to mark the 80th anniversary of the Battle of the Atlantic, one of the longest, most important battles of the Second World War.
So tens of thousands of Royal Navy and merchant sailors set sail from the city, risking their lives to bring vital supplies to wartime Britain. And our reporter Sarah Rogers is aboard HMS Defender for us this morning. A beautiful day for it. Describe what's going to be happening today.
Oh, it's a great day for it. Yes, welcome aboard Defender. We have got Britannia behind us. This is the flight deck. The quarters are below. If you joined us a little bit earlier, you would have heard the whistle waking everybody up. It's a helipad here as well. I can introduce you to the Wildcat, which we'll be talking about a little bit later. But this ship is also 152 metres long, which is almost as long as Blackpool Tower is tall. Now, it is here in Liverpool as part of those commemorations for the Battle of the Atlantic, the 80th anniversary, a vital battle to allow supplies to come into places like Liverpool. Now, we're going to be talking about what's going on here over the weekend, but before that, my colleague Andy Gill has been looking at some of the commemorations in Liverpool, which started with a royal visit.
The Royal Navy ship HMS Defender is in Liverpool for the commemorations, and there was a flypast by a Navy Swordfish plane and the Battle of Britain memorial flight. Today, though, belonged to the men and women who served on the sea. Andy Gill, BBC News, Liverpool.
Here we go.
Really poignant there, isn't it, hearing from people like 98-year-old Kenneth and their experiences. Now, I'm joined by Gary Doyle, who's from the Battle of the Atlantic Memorial Charity. We heard from some veterans there, but just tell me, why was this battle so important?
Good morning, Sarah. Well, the reason being it was the battle that facilitated everything else that took part in the Second World War, because without it, they couldn't have gone a place. The oil, the fuel, and also at that stage of the war, Britain was close to defeat. We were starving.
And why Liverpool for these commemorations?
The reason being is that actually the battle was coordinated from the Western Approaches Museum, the Western Approaches headquarters, but also Liverpool was a key port. It was westward facing, so it was the obvious place to come in with the supplies from Liverpool, along with support from Cardiff and Glasgow.
And you can see it everywhere when you come into Liverpool, that rich sort of maritime history. There's anchors and things everywhere, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. You remember the first wet dock in the world was in Liverpool in 1715, and the prosperity of Liverpool, it was known as the second city of the empire because of that.
Now, you've organised this, or you're one of the organisers, taken 6-7 months, so come and show it off to us. Tell us what's going to be happening over this weekend.
Right. Well, 6 to 7 months. We called it the Coalition of the Willing. So lots of individual groups coming together to pull it together in the city of Liverpool. So what we've got today, we've obviously got the ships here on the cruise liner terminal. They're going to be open to visitors from 10 o'clock. We've got a military village down on the pier head that people can come and have a look with some simulators from the different services. We've got some flypasts, starting with the Swordfish and then the Battle of Britain Memorial flight coming across. So lots going on.
What's going to be the thing that you're looking forward to the most, Gary?
Monday morning? No. No, I think the big thing tomorrow night, where they're going to have the march tomorrow afternoon, and then in the evening you're going to have Beat the Retreat from the Royal Marine Band on the pier head. And I don't think there's any more iconic way of finishing it off with a Beat the Retreat on the Liverpool waterfront just as the sun goes down.
Thank you very much, Gary. Well, I do hope that you do get to enjoy it, because it'll be over before you know it. We'll be back a little bit later on, but yeah, I mean, you can come down and explore it for yourself today. The Defender is open.
Sarah, thank you very much for reporting on board HMS Defender for us this morning.
Massive weekend of sport today.